Assalamu alaikum everyone. You are watching live with Sehar Kamran. Today we are here with His Excellency Mr. Bernhard Schlagheck. He is the ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany in Pakistan. Thank you, Excellency, for your valuable time.
Thank you for having me.
Pakistan and Germany enjoy close and cordial relations since 1951. Pakistan was among the first countries to recognize Germany, and 2021 we are marking the 70 years of the bilateral relations between Pakistan and Germany. As a matter of fact, the relations between Pakistan and Germany runs much deeper, as the national poet of Pakistan, Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, studied in Germany at Munich. So we have historical ties, we have cultural ties. Excellency, I would like to ask about the bilateral relations, how you see the relations between Pakistan and Germany.
As you have already said, we have, I would say, very stable and amicable relations, I would say, since the very beginning. Certainly there were some ups and downs, the latter particularly during military rule, but all in all, these relations have been very good, friendly, and above all across the board. So it's a broad-based friendship, and I very much hope that these 70 years that we have, let's say, gone side by side, are a good basis and a springboard, so to say, for more to come in the next 70 years. So that was the reason why we celebrated these 70 years, I would say, relatively extensively.
I understand that German diplomatic missions, the cultural organizations, and the businesses have series of events to mark the 70th anniversary of the diplomatic ties between the two countries. I will definitely ask about that, about like the forthcoming events. But first of all, today Germany is fourth largest economy of the world. So I would like to ask you about the inspiring story of Germany, the progress, development, and technology innovation. If you can tell us a little bit about like how Germany progressed to achieve this stability and economic growth.
Well, I mean, there is a similarity between Pakistan and Germany. Both countries came into existence under extreme duress. I mean, Germany had started and lost the war, and Pakistan came out of a, I would say, very tragic separation from India, and that resulted in millions of refugees. So that was a huge burden to both societies. And Germany, to talk about Germany came out of that, first of all, by solidarity and reconciliation with our neighbors. That's very important. And secondly, of course, by dint of, I would say, stamina, perseverance, and willing to perform by the German citizens. So it was not I would say it was not a foregone conclusion that Germany would be 50, 60, 70 years later, I would say, the economic powerhouse of Europe. So it's of course, combination of several factors, but by and large it has to do with the performance of the Germans themselves, greatly supported and assisted by people coming from the outside. I mean, we have a number of migrants from the early 60s onwards to Germany who are really contributing very significantly to overall society. And secondly, and that is also, I think, a very important aspect, we really try to get along and reconcile with our neighbors. I would say on all sides of the country. So that are the main elements I would name as the preconditions for Germany's progress.
Okay, just for the correction of the record, I would like to mention that we celebrate Pakistan's independence because that was based on an ideological ground, that we are two nations, and this two nations theory which created Pakistan. So it was a great moment for Pakistan, and we are very happy to have a separate homeland. And I'm glad to learn about the progress of Germany. Excellency, can you tell us about the ongoing projects of Germany in Pakistan, as Germany is one of the prime trade partner of Pakistan? So what are the projects, ongoing projects, and what are the companies, German companies, which are working and collaborating in Pakistan?
Well, we have roughly 40 big German companies active, constantly active in Pakistan, and that for quite some time. So there are German companies perhaps are a bit different to companies from other countries. They are here, I mean, sometimes they are a bit, I would say, cautious in their investment decision to enter a foreign market like Pakistan. But if they are here, then they are here for the long run. And all the German companies that are active in Pakistan are here for sometimes decades now, and they have made, by and large, very good experience. They are making profits here, they are contributing to the overall welfare of the Pakistani society, they are paying taxes, they are employing Pakistani employees. So I think it's a very good basis. Of course, what's good could be better, and that is what we, but also the Pakistani embassy in Berlin, under my friend and fellow ambassador Mohammed Faisal, what we try to do is, of course, to try to entice other German companies to invest here and to come to Pakistan. This is for the moment not that easy. Again, here there is a sort of, perhaps this is a bit German habit. We are not, interested so much in, hopping into a market and then making a profit and then hopping out again, but we are looking for the mid and long-term perspective. So people are a bit still assessing and vetting the business opportunities. I very much hope that that will lead to, I would say, significant investment in the future. And I have to say, I was in Lahore over the weekend, and there was a very small trade fair, I would say, a sort of showcasing of German business activities in Pakistan, and I spoke with at least 3 German investors who came to Pakistan only recently. So I think that is a good sign for things to come.
So, but what are the areas, like, the German companies are working here? What are the main projects? What are the main areas?
Well, the main areas are, of course, chemicals, engineering, very strongly, also logistics. We have automotives here, but also, I would say, digital and financial services. So it's a bit across the board.
So regarding like the manufacturing and automobiles, is there any clause or consideration of technology transfer for the sustainability and for the development of these projects?
Well, I think each and every investment, particularly in the manufacturing sector, brings with it a sort of technology transfer. How much that is, I cannot really judge because I'm not an expert in this field, but yes, trade and particular investment must be beneficial to all sides, and I'm quite certain it is. It is.
Do you see any challenges that exactly, if removed, can further create a suitable ground for investment, promotion, and the business collaborations?
Well, I cannot I cannot talk about specific business challenges because, as I said, I'm not really privy to the details. But what I would say as a general challenge for Pakistani-German or Pakistani-EU relations is first, and that's extremely important for Pakistan, is GSP+. I mean, this is not an intrinsic German-Pakistani issue, it's an EU-Pakistani issue, but I mean, Germany is the biggest market within the EU, so it has a lot to do with us as well. So GSP Plus is entering in a new round in 2023, and of course Pakistan is very much interested because it increased the EU-Pakistani trade relations by 70% almost since GSP Plus came into force in 2014. So I think Pakistan is very much interested to prolong this GSP Plus scheme. We are also, but I think there are some outstanding issues still that need to be sorted out before. There's an evaluation mission of the EU coming early next week, and I very much hope that these issues can be resolved, and then the decision can be made in Brussels that GSP Plus is be prolonged. You know, with then from 2023 onwards. Second point is, I think, where the sort of challenge is we Germans, we are the champions of multilateralism and regional trade connections. So we are very much in favor of this shift Pakistan took recently from, as the foreign minister used to say, from geopolitics to geoeconomics, and a greater emphasis on connectivity with the region. But of course that has to be translated into practice, and there is some way to go for Pakistan, but we are very much in favor of that because the EU is also a regional, I would say, association and union. So to some extent, to see the region as a area for regional trade means, of course, also to come at some stage to some arrangement with India, because India is a neighboring country and the potential for Indian-Pakistani trade is enormous. So if you want to push regionalism and regional trade, and we all know South Asia is the least integrated trade area in the world, at some stage you have to come to terms. I know it's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have to come to terms with India. And third, perhaps that here again, investment conditions. I know there had been quite substantive progress made over the last couple of years, but still, and I mean, we have seen Pakistan moving ahead in the ease of doing business ranking, but there are still outstanding issues. And I think it would be good to see some, I would say, improvements in relation with, you know, litigation processes, tariff structures, and also investment conditions. So I would say these are challenges for the years ahead.
Yes, you have rightly said, yes, there are challenges. As far as our trade or ties with India are, you know, Pakistan has always taken the positive initiatives, but you know, we have some outstanding issues, and there are UN resolutions.
I agree.
So we just want that the UN resolutions should be implemented in the true spirit. So exactly, we see a rather peaceful, not only the two countries, but the peaceful region. So it's very important, and I think that it is the responsibility of both the countries to take initiatives that could create peace and harmony on both the sides of the borders. As far as the GSP Plus is, Pakistan has taken considerable measures, and I recently met the EU ambassador Androla Kaminara also, and she was satisfied with some of the initiatives that Pakistan has, legislations that Pakistan has recently, So, but exactly we do understand, and the bilateral trade between Pakistan and Germany only in 2020 was amounted to 2.9 billion euros. Yeah. So we do see that exactly Pakistan should benefit from GSP plus, and Pakistan should, like, you know, this bilateral trade should increase, and since Germany is one of the prime partners, so we always look towards Germany. Pakistan is also facing, like, you know, some challenges at FATF, and we believe that the member countries can help, like, in easing those conditions. But Pakistan has almost, like, met most of the yeah, almost all. So exactly, we believe that these are the political organizations, and there are some hiccups. I hope we overcome those hiccups soon. Okay, Excellency, let me now ask, like, exactly, I understand there are series of events organized by the German diplomats and the embassy here in Islamabad, the consulate in Karachi, and the cultural organizations to mark the bilateral 70 years of bilateral relations. Can you tell us about some of the forthcoming events?
Well, unfortunately, I have to disappoint you. It's not any longer forthcoming, because all the events, to say it bluntly, the party is over now.
Okay.
Because but you are right in saying we tried to surround the exact date of the establishment of diplomatic relations on October the 15th.
Okay.
We tried to surround it by a serious event, in, so to say, in the run-up and in the aftermath. And we have started early September in Karachi with a visit of a naval vessel, German naval vessel, combined with the first in-person visit by a business delegation, high-ranking business delegation from Germany after the pandemic, of course. That was hugely successful here in Karachi and here in Islamabad, meeting, for instance, Shukar Tareen, the finance minister, and others, and boosting actually the perception of Pakistan as a business location. Then we had a flagship event on October 15th at the lawn of the Foreign Ministry, graciously hosted by the Foreign Minister. We had a number of lectures, sporting events in the meanwhile, and we have concluded these, as we dubbed it, German weeks in Pakistan. We have concluded these German weeks last weekend in Lahore with a big, I would say, show of German business and trade activities in Pakistan, combined with cultural events and a nationwide meeting of our alumni network and a sporting event and so on. So it was a really very nice and comprehensive weekend, last weekend in Lahore. And I have to say, the series of events have resonated quite well with our Pakistani friends and partners, and I'm quite happy with the outcome.
Oh yeah, the event must be over, but I believe the beginning of the renewed commitment to further strengthen the tie has just started. So there is never an end.
5 years again.
Yeah.
So then 75 years.
Yeah. So. Okay, Excellency, what about, like, you do the Pakistan and Germany defense ties? Do we have, like, what kind of defense ties we have?
Well, we have very close military-to-military relation long since. So there are, we have staff colleges which are being attended by respective officers of our armies. We have 2 German high-ranking officers currently in Pakistani staff colleges. We have Pakistanis in Germany. We have, as I said, the naval vessel that came to Karachi was only reciprocating a visit by a Pakistani vessel in Hamburg. So we have a number of. So I think the military-to-military relation is also very solid. And sometimes you are really surprised if you meet sometimes high-ranking Pakistani officers who are being greeted in German, because these people have learned German in Germany before they attended staff college, and that's very nice to see.
So I know many of our officers, they can speak Germany very good. And I have visited Berlin as the member of Senate Standing Committee on Defense. So we have met our counterparts in Berlin, in the Berlin Parliament. Here we'll take a short break and we'll resume back very soon. So now we are back after a short pause. Thank you, Excellency, for your time again. You know, there are Pakistani businessmen who go to Germany for the bilateral businesses. Currently, they are facing the problems because Germany is only accepting 5 vaccines. But as you know that in Pakistan, most of us, we got these Chinese vaccines, which are approved by WHO. So do you see like any situation where this condition would be eased? So because like the condition of the vaccines which are approved by Germany, it is not accessible to everyone. So is there any consideration to relax the condition and to allow the people if the vaccinations are approved by WHO?
Well, first of all, we are not only accepting Pfizer, but we are accepting a number of vaccines, but as you are rightly said, mostly these are Western vaccines. So it's not only Pfizer, it's also Johnson & Johnson, it's Moderna, it's AstraZeneca and some others. But we are not accepting. That would mean the European medicine agencies. And you are right, there is a mismatch in Europe between what the WHO has recommended and what the European Medicine Agency has recommended. And the German government has decided, it's not my decision, it's not the decision of the embassy, the German government has decided to follow the EMA's, the European agency's recommendation, which has been followed by most of European countries. So I agree there is a mismatch, and that's very unpleasant and uncomfortable for our Pakistani friends. It can, in most of the cases, because we are handling this case, it can somehow be, I would say, remedied. Because a number of Pakistani now got booster vaccinations by a Western vaccine anyway, and if they have then another vaccination, and that can be done quite easily here, then it's all right. So I agree with you, it's unfortunate, but since we are not the one who decided, not even my government had decided to follow the EMA, but the recommendations are not of my government, but are of this medicine agency. And as long they seem to work now on Chinese and Russian vaccines, but I don't know when and whether they will recommend them at the end. So it's a bit unfortunate, I agree with you, but it can be resolved in praxis.
Yeah, thank you for contributing vaccines to Pakistan. It's quite a great number. We really appreciate that, but let me also say that exactly many of our businessmen, their business visas were cancelled because they could not get the vaccine in time. And while we are talking about the vaccination and COVID-19, Germany is an attraction for Pakistani students, especially for the advanced studies. And due to this COVID-19, many of the students, they could not travel to Germany, and they lost their admissions, they lost their scholarships, which has negatively impacted on that. So how this situation can be eased, and which department in embassy these students should contact to ease their travel to Germany, and how they can resume their studies?
You're right. The students' exchange had been clearly affected, negatively affected by the pandemic, but not that much because of the praxis of our visa section, but because there was, borders had been closed, flights had been either cancelled or delayed. Those students who happened to stay in Germany during the pandemic got their residence permit and remained, kept their residence permit and kept their bursaries. So there was no change. But indeed, I would say the entry of, so to say, new students was severely hampered. That is now, I would say, basically gone. So we are basically back to normal. So people can apply for visa. Of course, they can apply for university. I know it's quite popular because it's tuition free in principle in Germany. So I would say for the details, people should visit our website. There's all being outlined, and as I said, basically we are back to normal.
So there is a good news for the students.
Yeah.
So I can give a good news exactly. Everything is
we are back to normal, and of course we will see. There is some waiting time for the embassy still in the visa section, but we are also, the waiting time has been drastically reduced.
Okay, what about the students who lost their scholarships? Is there any hope for them that exactly their admissions or scholarship would be resumed again and they would be able to go back and study?
Again, of course they have to address the, for instance, the Deutsche Akademische Ausland, the DAAD, German Academic Exchange Service. But here again, my sense is they are by and large back to normal. So there are possibilities to get scholarships. You can get scholarship from universities in Germany directly or by dint of the German Academic Exchange Service. They have websites here. They should approach either the universities themselves. Most of the students they need permission to go to a university anyway, and they have already their contacts to universities, or address the German Academic Exchange Service here. They have an office here, and Anna Iqbal is at the helm of the DAAD. She's very knowledgeable.
So many of the German foundations, they were here in Pakistan, and they were contributing immensely in the philanthropic work, in the intellectual activities, and Germany is known for education, history, and knowledge. Many of these, I remember, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung was one of those foundations which closed their offices and went back. Do you see any hope of these foundations coming back, and is there still hiccups in their functioning in Pakistan?
Well, let me say we had 5 political foundations, particularly with the Pakistani civil society, but also with parliament, with security agencies. So they ran into problems, let's say 3-4 years ago, particularly with security agencies and others here in Pakistan. And 2 of them, CAS, Konrad Adenauer Foundation, and the Heinrich Böll Foundation, they decided then, in view of these difficulties, to leave the country, which was, in my view, very regrettable. 3 of them, the Ebert Stiftung, the FES, the Naumann Stiftung, and the Hans Seidel Stiftung, they decided to remain. And I have to say, despite bumps in the road, it needs to be said, still, particularly with security agencies and, licensing and, problems with ministries, but by and large, they are capable of doing their work properly, and I think they are working almost normally now. So that's also back to normal, and they are quite happy to be here. I was with the Friedrich Naumann Stiftung in Lahore because they also celebrated 70 years, and they had a big alumni meeting there, and the governor was so kind to give the keynote speech. So I think it's a mutual appreciation of what the foundations are doing here. So I very much hope that I will make a try again. I can convince the two foundations which left to revert or to return back to Pakistan. But again, I have to talk to them.
Yeah, I had interaction with FES also, and they are doing a commendable job because the law that I introduced on civic democratic education, they are supporting on that law on implementation, which is definitely something which I really appreciate, because creating awareness in the society and educating people about the importance of that law is something that exactly we definitely need.
I fully agree.
So, Excellency, you have been here in Pakistan for quite some time, and we see you very active on the social media. And also your cycling is very popular. So, how far has been your experience in Pakistan? How you see that Pakistan? What is your favorite place? What is your favorite food? What is your personal experience about Pakistan?
Well, I have to say, I really love to be here. It's professionally a very, very interesting job in any event. I used to say never a dull moment in Pakistan. But secondly, I'm really impressed by the diversity, liveliness of Pakistani society. But not only society, it's also landscape, it's food, it's music, it's literature, poetry, it's even fashion. I mean, the different way of, attires in all parts of the country. But mostly, I'm really impressed by the vigor and agility of the people. That's really amazing, and across all sectors of society. Unfortunately, and perhaps stupidly, I cannot speak Urdu, so my communication with, I would say, some strata of society is a bit difficult. But even that, I never ever served in a country, and believe me, I have a number of countries already in my bag. I never ever served in a country where even people who could not understand me and I could not understand these people, were so generous and hospitable as Pakistani are. This is really an outstanding trait of these people, and that's wonderful.
No, I know you have connected very well, and even if you could not speak Urdu, but your communication skills are very good. So you know the art of connecting to the people. And what is your favorite place in Pakistan? You have visited various places. What is your favorite place where you would like to go again and again?
That is a very tricky question, because, if I say, well, I like this place best or so, then next time I go to the other place and these people are saying, well, what have you been? I will abstain from answering that question, but I have to say there are really amazing places in Pakistan, and literally this is half of a continent. It's of course it's a country, but it's more than a country. It's half of a continent because it's so bountiful and rich and diverse.
Okay, and have you tried Pakistani cuisine? Your favorite cuisine, food, what you like most?
That's a very popular question by journalists in Pakistan. I used to say, because frankly, I'm not a big expert in dishes, not even in Germany. So there are even people saying, what German dish you prefer? I cannot even tell. What I really love is, and that is, I would say, a common denominator between Pakistani and Germans. To sit around a table, joining in discussion, sharing a good and quality time together while eating. That is the great thing for me, this table fellowship, this comradeship, this sitting, and I was with a number of friends. I have a very good old friend from my time with the UN, and since then I know this Pakistani. He had been an ex-military guy, but he was then seconded to the UN, and I met him there 20 years ago, and we kept on being friends. So he invited me, you know, with a number of his friends, and we had such a lovely time. It was excellent food, but if you asked me to tell what food it was, I would not say. I could not say, but it was excellent.
You're very diplomatic in that way, not to mention even the food, but I would say yes, this is like, you know, the bonding, the family and the friendly bonding, that is unique, you know, that brings the warmth, and that, yeah, that too,
that's
yeah.
so wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, if you don't mind like replying, I would like to ask about the impact of Brexit on EU, that how it would have been, and specifically on Germany.
Well, let me say, emotionally, I really regret seeing the Brits leaving the EU, because they are a very important part of Europe anyway. And that is something I was really a bit sad about. But of course, it's a sovereign decision of the United Kingdom, so it's not for me or for us to you know, comment on that substantively. When it comes to the EU, yes, of course, the UK was an important part of the UK, but I think the EU can act, I would say, relatively unchanged even without the Brits. The Brits, I mean, in a narrower policy sense, were always difficult for the EU. So to some extent it has even facilitated things, and it has made things easier. At least, you know, the technical and bureaucratic handling in Brussels. So it's bad, it's sad, but I think it's not a catastrophe.
But exactly how, for specifically if I ask about the Germany, so how it has impacted on Germany?
Well, I mean, there are areas in Germany who are very, I would say, Anglophile. For instance, the north, Hamburg, you know, the cities close to the North Sea, which have traditionally very strong trade relations with the UK. Of course, they are complaining, and they are to some extent also suffering. But by and large, and there is a huge sympathy for the UK in Germany. But by and large, I mean, this is not the end of the world. Of course, you can travel to the UK, your British friends remain to be your British friends. And of course, there is business a bit more complicated now. You have to fill in some more forms. But by and large, I think things are getting back to normal. After a bit, you know, this emotional outcry immediately before and after the decision to leave. But no, it's, of course, there is still some haggling about fishing rights and so on and so forth. But I don't think it will impair the substance of friendly relations that we have with the UK.
And anything, Excellency, you would like to add, which I have missed?
Well, I just want to say that I'm very pleased with being here, that I'm looking forward to working with, I would say, the whole strata of society, of course with the government, of course with the officials, but also with civil society, with NGOs, and with ordinary people, because that is really the bedrock of diplomatic relations to have people-to-people contacts, and that I would very much encourage in my position here as ambassador of Germany to Pakistan.
Okay, how did you find the security situation in Pakistan since you have been here since last 2 years?
Well, by and large, the security situation has greatly improved over the last, I would say, decade or so, but still there are challenges. And these challenges are emanating from, the political situation in the neighboring country, from, things that are going on in the tribal areas. So it's not totally settled. And I think that is still a great concern to the security agencies, and rightly so. So there are some concerns. I'm quite certain the security agencies and the political leadership are very much alerted to, I would say, confront these challenges, and I can only hope that they do it in the right way.
And how you see the situation in Afghanistan?
Well, Afghanistan is very much on our mind these days. There is, of course, we have, of course, a political problem because the dispensation we are there has to live up to their own declarations. So far they have not. And secondly, of course, including security, by the way, and including, not allowing Afghanistan to becoming once again a soil for, terrorism and other activities against neighboring countries or against countries over the horizon. But then, of course, we are concerned about the humanitarian and economic situation that needs to be tackled. Germany has pledged 600 million in humanitarian and development aid to Afghanistan, but of course the problem is always, as the international community has, but the problem is only to channel it to the right recipients now. So that is an ongoing challenge, and I think we need to be much more focused on that, because we cannot allow Afghanistan to end up in a sort of state collapse.
Yeah, you have very rightly said, for Pakistan it's also very important to have a peaceful neighborhood. So we have already sacrificed a lot and suffered a lot. So we hope that we see peace soon in Afghanistan.
They have identical political objectives.
Yeah. Thank you, Excellency. I thank you on behalf of myself, the team of Star News, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for having me.